Welcome back to the Goalie Corner presented by One Stop Goaltending. I'm Coach Michael. Today we got Billy with us. Billy, before we actually kick it off, I need to double check something because I think this is actually going to be the 100th episode that the Goalie Corner's had. So that's kind of cool. So happy 100 episodes to us. Um, you can go through the Rolodex and re-listen to them all on Spotify, and Apple Podcast, or find just the newest stuff on YouTube. But that's kind of cool. I know you've been around for a lot of the episodes, so it's kind of like our thing. But yeah, 100 episodes. But this episode we're going to talk about getting ready for junior tryouts. This is going to come out um early enough that people are still getting ready for main camps and exhibitions and stuff like that for their junior teams. So, Billy, first question, how did you used to get ready for junior tryouts?
Mm, I don't know. I would say that I kind of put all my eggs in one basket, and I go to the rink, skate with my goalie coach, go to the rink, playing 3-on-3, skate as much as I can, um, go to the gym, and have a workout plan or work. I worked out with a trainer, and I try to work out 4 to 6 times a week, kind of depending on what my schedule looked like and how my body was feeling. That was a big part of it. I think you know the work ethic was there, and that's really important, for sure. And that when you show up to camp, whether it's fitness testing or just some days you have 2 or 3 games during camp, you don't want to be making a bad impression by being out of shape. Um, that's one easy way to get your name crossed off the list. If you go run a mile run and you can't even make it, doesn't matter how good you are on the ice. Just it shows that you didn't put in the work in the summer. And at the end of the day, that they're just looking for guys that, even if you don't have a great camp, but you make a good first impression, that's a guy that they can build off of, and they can continue to work on. I mean, we talk about this a lot for kind of you know it's like when the taller goalie, maybe isn't as fast as skater, but you can continue. He stops the puck, so it's like, well, we can make him a faster skater. Um, so this is kind of a similar thing. It's like, you know, we can make him a little bit better on the ice with the work ethic that he has.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really big and important piece is, they want guys that are going to continuously improve all the time. They don't want guys staying stagnant, and one way to prove that you're willing to do that is being in shape and kind of being professional at the rink.
Yeah.
So that was kind of be my point.
So it sounded like you took a very physical minded approach to your preparation, right? A lot of time in the gym, a lot of time on the rink, a lot of time doing physical activity to get your body ready, right? And you and I were talking before we started rolling here. I think that's kind of a common approach to how I'm just gonna say teenagers view the world, view hockey. They understand that there's a mental side, but if you're physically fit and physically sharp, then you're mentally good too, right? I think that's a little dangerous because you risk the chances of being burnt out by the end of tryouts or maybe even by the time you get to tryouts. And I think that's something you and I learned as we went through that process. My biggest thing is to like I always had a goalie coach who said and a trainer who said we need you to peak at the right time. So they would tailor the workouts and tailor the ice times. So by the end of August, I was peaking. It wasn't that I was doing more workouts. I would kind of load the heavy workouts at the beginning of the month so my body had time to recover from those. And then everything else is kind of like maintenance and then building the confidence, right? Same with on ice performance, right? Start with maybe more ice times or really fine tuning the fundamentals. And then as you move through the month, you're getting into game scenarios and a little bit more tailored to your game um, plays, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think a big piece in that too, and he talked about burnout is knowing your body and knowing what you need to do and knowing that it's okay to say no. Knowing to tell your goalie coach, like if you have stuff planned in advance, say you have a summer plan with your goalie coach, you have a summer plan with your trainer, everything's laid out for you. They can't help you unless you communicate. If your hip hurts, if your knee hurts, if your shoulder hurts, whatever's going on, then they can help you. And then that's where I'd say the mental side of the game comes in. It should be something you're taking care of all the time. But what I mean by that is instead if your hip hurts and you take like maybe 2, 3, 4 days off, um, maybe you're doing like mobility stuff at the gym. Maybe you can still run, but you can't lift, or whatever that looks like. You're on the bike, but you can't lift, um, or it only hurts when you're on the ice. Like different things, different ways to help maintain it and actually strengthen it. But I'd say the biggest thing with that is being okay with saying no and being okay with going for a walk, being okay with meditating in the morning, being okay with reading a book, you know, like
Slowing down, right?
slowing down. Yeah. But like, or like, you know, stuff that you've done in the past with like me is, hand-eye stuff. Like, let's do hand-eye stuff. Let's do,
Yeah.
like concentration grids or whatever, ways to make our brain think. And then that way, that's actually gonna make me feel better, not only mentally, but like physically too. Like it's working on my reaction speed, right? But at the end of the day, like my body's gonna heal and feel better after those 3 or 4 days, and I'm gonna feel more refreshed. And then I
Yeah.
guess the last piece of that would just be in that time too. It's like you're not going out to Don's, you're not going out to wherever. You're still you're eating right, you're taking care of your body, and you're doing the right things. I mean, and just a small piece, and I think this is. I don't want to contradict myself. I want people to understand what I'm saying by this. But at the same time, if you're like, you know what, I want McDonald's. Go get a McDonald's burger. Go get an iced tea, and you're gonna be fine. Like I think
Yeah.
that's like the biggest thing for me was like when I was those those modes was like when I showed up to tryouts, I had all that pressure and that weight on my shoulders that I just trained this hard. There was like if I fail, it was for nothing. Like that was like in my mind. And so, being able to step back is actually like a very huge
Powerful
component.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like what you're describing is you're stepping back to take a step forward, right? So, like, I don't hope anybody gets injured, but if you do get injured, I kind of hope it's in the summer because that's the time that's the most time that you would have to heal and get it checked out and properly recover, right? You're not rushing. You can miss ice times in the summer. That's fine, right? What Billy was describing with the hand eye and the concentration grids and um, going for a walk is you're adapting the time that you already allocated to working out to improving your physical fitness with something else that's also going to help your game, right? So you're resting, let's say your hip, right? Because that's the example that you gave. So we're resting our hip, but we're focused on our reaction time, right? So you're still getting something out of it and you're not just kind of being a lazy pig. But I also agree, like McDonald's or like some sort of junk foods, definitely fine here and there for sure, right? It's a treat, right? Doesn't have to be a lifestyle, but it's a treat. But getting back to getting ready for tryouts, you mentioned being able to take a step back mentally, right? Sounds like you used to put a lot of pressure on yourself. Are you still putting that same sort of pressure on yourself? And if you want tips to help deal with pressure, I do highly suggest you go back and listen to episode 98, which is kind of just ironically titled Dealing with Pressure with Jack Sloan White. It was very good conversation, very good and very eye-opening with how people react to the pressure, right? He just calls it stress. Pressure is just a stress mechanism, right? So I do recommend that. That was 2 weeks ago at this point. And but back to Billy. Billy's got some big news, um, which kind of leads into the next line of questioning here. Billy, you want to be the one to share the big news?
Yeah, I'm going over to Finland and trying to play again and have a professional tryout over there and I think I just took a lot different approach kind of this summer and it wasn't that I slacked off, to be honest. I've been skating a ton almost every day, but um, maybe just more of an approach that I know is going to help me in the long run and be excited to get over there. Of course, I'd be excited no matter what, but I think sometimes that stress and that anxiety can weigh heavy on us going into tryouts instead of being excited about it.
Mhm.
And I think that's where the mental side of the game comes in, and that's where like you know going for a walk or just enjoying time with your buddies is perfectly all right. And like um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's important.
So that's awesome news. Congratulations, right? It's kind of funny how we just talked about taking a step back to take a step forward. Looking at yourself, like you kind of took a step back for a season and you got presented an opportunity and you didn't let off the gas really. You took a step back from heavy training, but in that time you ran a marathon, I want to say, right? Or a half
Uh,
marathon,
yeah,
right? And then so so you weren't a couch potato, you just kind of readjusted and then you got presented an opportunity and you're like, yeah, let's go for it, right? I want to get back into
yeah,
the game. And you and I have been on the phone quite a bit talking about your mental state, and you feel like you're mentally like totally different person than if you stayed in hockey for that year.
yeah. I
Right.
think the biggest like last year, for those of you who don't know, I went down to Knoxville, Tennessee. Things didn't really work out, and so it's almost like kind of took, I guess, the six months or whatever off hockey, and fitness has always been a big part of my life, and kept running and kept working out, but not to the intensity level that I used to. Um, and then honestly, I probably took like a month off, to be honest, because I was just like, man,
That's fair.
I just need a break from this, and in that time, I realized like how fortunate we are to be hockey players and how fortunate we are to just be able to go on the ice and get to play a game we love. And I've played it since I was for over 20 years now. And then I got kind of possibly had an opportunity to play again, so I started kind of skating again with a group and getting back into the gym and our program. And then kind of things just kind of fell into place. But I'd say the biggest thing on that is like now when I go to the rink, I like see it as like I don't see it as like I don't even see it as an opportunity to get better or like I need to prove myself. Like I just see it as like I don't want to say a hobby, but like I just enjoy it.
Mm,
Like I get to go there and I get to kind of put myself outside of reality, and in that hour or whatever, like I don't have to worry about how hard I worked in the gym or whatever, like
yeah.
whatever's going on. I just get to go there and yeah. So like all that being said, like you still need to be putting in the work, but
It
I've just taken a lot more honestly professional approach, I think, in just understanding where my body's at, you know,
it seems a lot less
knowing
stressful. Like I'm sure you're still thinking about it and it's still weighing heavy, but it like knowing you going through juniors, like that I have a less stressed feeling coming from you.
Oh yeah, like I'm not worried at all. Like it's like I'm just like at the end of the day, like I know that I know my body and I know how to take care of it. And I think that a lot of that comes with age. But I'd say the biggest thing is like I knew my body in juniors too, but I was afraid to like let off the gas. And
Right.
then, that led into like stress and anxiety going into tryouts because I was like, I just did all this and like, what if I don't make it? Whereas like now, like I'm in, honestly, I know I'm in great shape and I know like I've been on the ice and feeling good, but I'm not like if I need to take a day off, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go for a walk and read a book, and like I'll get like whatever my tennis balls out, or sometimes I'll like put a ladder out on the field and like just do some like quick movement, or I'll do band work with like mobility stuff, and like my body feels better, or whatever, and then I move on with my day. I don't go deadlift 500 pounds, like I think that's a huge thing is like understanding, things can change. Like, so you have a huge workout plan for Wednesday and you wake up Wednesday and, you're puking or whatever. Like, I think in our society, we're like, especially with social media, it's like you got to be hard, right? Like, you got to be like tough and like you got to be like a hard person.
An
But
alpha
like,
male.
yeah, but like, if you try to do that with hockey, or probably honestly, I'd argue any sport, like, you're gonna burn out and you're just not gonna enjoy it as much. So I think
Yeah.
and like I'm not saying don't work out. You should be in the gym, 4 or 6 times a week, but how are you managing that workload? Or are you just doing deadlifts every single day? Like that was literally me. Like I was just like I would like look at like us David Goggins, for example, and be like, this guy's nails. Like I need to be like this. But
Yeah, I
like
need to do
that doesn't
10,000
translate.
pull-ups. Yeah.
Yeah, but like that doesn't translate to like my performance on the ice.
Yeah.
Like because mentally I'm just drained.
Yeah, so yeah, work smart, right? Obviously you work hard, but you have to do it smart, right? So workload for sure, right? Plan your heavy lift days or plan your heavy um fatigue days wisely. And not every gym session do you have to leave soaking wet and unable to walk, right? I was right there with you. I hated doing upper body, still do. Love doing lower body workouts, right? The exact opposite of everybody else. So I would go and I would do my squats and deadlifts, and I'd do that 3, 4 times a week. Well, my legs got huge and my upper body was pretty weak. And it did help me on the ice for sure, but it wasn't optimized and it wasn't as smart as it could be, obviously, right? Because I was very low balanced, let's say. But let's go back to junior tryouts. What can people expect in junior tryouts? Um, like the tempo of the game, maybe what is kind of normal at a main camp, knowing that you and I, it's been a while since we've been at a main camp. Um, what can they expect walking in the doors if it's their first time, right? Because a lot of the pressure and a lot of the stress that we put on ourselves does come from the unknown of what it's going to be like,
Hmm. Yeah,
right?
I'd say this is kind of what you can expect from a goalie standpoint. And if first of all, ask the question, how many teams are going to be at camp? You know, this many teams, and then do the math. I don't really like asking how many goalies, and the reason I'm going to tell you that is because that puts a idea in the coach's mind that like you're worried about other guys. It's like just worry about yourself. I know you probably want to know, you're curious, but you can kind of do the math. Usually there's two goalies on a team. Maybe there's eight, six, four goalies at camp. Usually at main camp, I think it's a little different nowadays, but when I like would go, usually there's 4 goalies at main camp, 2 teams. One guy's probably signed, and 3 guys are kind of battling out, kind of, and that can vary.
Yeah.
But I would say the biggest thing to expect is just and this is again kind of a more maybe higher end mature answer, but expect the unexpected. Don't have these expectations that you know I need to get 3 shutouts. I need to do this. Oh, I play in the morning and I play in the afternoon. I'm gonna do like this. Like this can mess you up. And
Yeah,
like
being
I'm
able
gonna
to
go for lunch.
predict, trying to predict everything isn't really going to work out,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Like, oh, I'm gonna go for lunch at noon, and then I'm gonna do this and this and this. But what happens if there's a traffic jam, and now maybe instead of being an hour and a half, maybe you're an hour 15, right? You're still early. You're still, you're professional, whatever, early. But now you're just like, 15 minutes later than I wanted to be. And
Yeah.
you're already in your head before you're even on
Yeah.
the ice.
Yeah. So let's stay out of the hypotheticals here, right? So just because we'll go down tangents pretty quick, but expect the unexpected, aka like don't try to predict everything that's going to happen, right? But for me, like tryouts, they are very different than when you and I did go through them. Like seeing from a coaching standpoint, it's actually pretty rare now that they do fitness testing. They might do like minimal. I remember going to Merit Centennials that used to be in the BCHL, and we did like 4 hours of fitness testing, right? We did 5K, we did beep test, we did all the strength stuff. We did longest plank. It was crazy. We did hill sprints and they timed 10 times and they saw like your drop off, right? Your essentially recovery rate drop off, your fatigue level, right? I don't think that's something that you can expect going into. I would plan for a fitness test, so make sure that you don't do a heavy strength day or a heavy fatigue day 2, 3, 4 days in advance. Do it a week in advance. Give yourself time to heal, and then do the walks. Do the slower anaerobic stuff, right? As far as on ice stuff goes, I think there are a few things you can predict, right? The hockey's going to be a faster pace than spring at their tryouts. I think um, my mentality towards it is that it's selfish hockey in tryouts because everybody's trying to make themselves look good, which means passes aren't normally their go-to, right? So on 2-on-1, the guy that's most likely to shoot because it makes him look better if he scores, right? You're a defenseman. Nobody has a system set in place. Usually the coaches in tryouts don't coach a system, right? So if you are with like more veteran guys on your team, then they might have some system already kind of talked about. But all that means for you, the goalie, is you have to have your head on a swivel and be prepared for everything, right? Your defenseman picks up the puck from the corner. I don't really know that guy. What if he fumbles it? What if that's his normal, right? You got to be prepared for that because he's thinking of himself. He's not thinking of where to put the puck or um, putting the team first, essentially, right? I think it is normal now or normalized that it's about 4 teams in a main camp with 2 goalies on each team. Some teams have 3 for obvious reasons. Um, but at like besides that, I think that's what you can expect, right? It's good hockey, not season hockey, in season hockey, right? But it's also not spring tryout hockey where everybody's solely focused on themselves. I think showing up. If you don't know the coaching staff, you should probably meet the coaching staff. And then this is my favorite one, and this is what I learned from Hockey Canada when I was going through it with them as an athlete. They talk to everybody in the rink, right? They talk to rink attendants, they talk to their training staff, they talk to the water boy, they talk to whoever's helping, right? Volunteers. If you have a chance to interact with them, just say, "Hey, how's it going? Ice looks great. Thanks for the water," right? And that's kind of what Billy was talking about, being professional. If you do that, you don't have to talk to them, right? But then that you don't have the opportunity of them speaking nice about your character, right? You don't have to go out of your way and have a 20-minute conversation. Just, hey, how's it going? Right? Acknowledge their existence. Um, because when and if the coach asks them, like, oh, did anybody stand out? Well, this person stood out because they spat on my ground or on the ground, and this person stood out because they said hi to me, right? It gives you a kind of an extra little leg up, and it costs you nothing, right? It costs you 10, 15 seconds, right? So, anyways, I went off on a tangent instead of Billy there.
No, I agree with that 100%. And I guess
What a
I
role
think
reverse.
biggest thing about yeah, I'm a tangent guy. Biggest thing about expecting the unexpected, I guess, is just like it's not every day is different, and I think that's kind of again it goes into kind of a more mature approach of like you know just go play. Like I think that's a big part of it, and also like some teams like in tryouts like are way better than others. Like they throw a bunch of random guys on a team even at main camps, and all of a sudden one team has a lot of higher end players than another. Like you might get peppered. Like so again like say you let in 3 goals in your half or whatever like and and you're all pissed. How are you gonna portray yourself? How are you gonna bounce back the next day? Like those are all things that people are looking at. They're not really looking at your goals against. Like maybe if you let in one from the far end, that's a Toskala. But like
Yeah.
honestly, like as like a goalie coach myself, like I'm not really looking at the goals against. Like I'm looking at, how's this goalie portray himself? How's this guy carry himself on the ice? You know,
Yeah.
obviously, yeah, as the athletic, can he skate? Can he move? Does he know his box control, etc.? Of course, this stuff's important. But like sometimes, like a bounce here, a tip here, whatever, like the puck's gonna go in the net. So, um, I would say the biggest thing is just controlling what you can control.
Totally. Right. And you brought up a good point of like the skills do matter. Those are teachable skills, though, right? We can't teach you how to be a good character and a hard worker and a smart worker. We can, but most goalie coaches won't put in that effort in the season, right? They want to make you a good goalie, not a good person, if that's the weak area, right? Um, a lot of people, myself included, with Billy on this one, it's not so much about the goals or how they're going in, unless it's the exact same thing every time. It's what you do after the goal, and then how do you rebound during the play after the goal as well, right? So body language is huge. It's ironic because a couple days ago I had semi-private and we're doing puck handling stuff, and I film all the sessions. Goalies just has terrible body language, and I skate up to him with the iPad. I'm like, okay, what do you see? Right? I'm like, you tell me what you're seeing here. And he's like, oh, I could move the puck a little faster. My hand positioning on my stick wasn't good. That. I'm like, all right, well, watch you getting back into the net, right? Does it look like a goalie who wants to be here? He goes, no. I'm like, do you want to be here? Because he was obviously the goalie in the video. He goes, I do. I'm like, at the beginning of every practice in August and late July, I treat everything like a tryout for the goalies and the players, right? And I tell them that before they get on the ice, like, okay, let's have intensity, let's be prepared. This is what we're doing. You have to create separation between you and the next guy today, right? Or you and the next goalie. And I asked him, okay, with this video, if you were the goalie coach or the coach, is this guy making your team? No, right? Solely because of body language. So you don't have to be high energy, bouncing off the wall with excitement, but you want to make sure everybody knows that you want to be there with just how you're standing, how you're presenting yourself, right? That goes a long way, right? And then show them that you can stop the puck, obviously, hopefully, right? Big hope. But I think that, like what Billy's saying, is professionalism goes a long way. And it goes with working smart, working hard. When you're in the net, you show them what you can do. When you're out of the net, you can goof around, have some fun, right? Joke around with people. But when you step back into the crease, it's game time. It's go time, right? Don't lollygag, don't have bad language, body language, and language. And if you get scored on, who cares? It's not going to be the end of the world. Me and Billy care more about what happens after, right? Are you going to be a stick slammer, or are you going to just step up, dust yourself off, and go for the next shot, right?
100%. That would, I think you summed it up perfectly.
Perfect. All right. Any last piece of wisdom?
Um, Stay hydrated.
That's a really good one, especially if it's hot, right? Electrolytes and water. You don't even know your body's sweating if it's hot. Um, and hydration starts the night before. But everybody say congratulations to Billy in the comments, wherever you're listening to. Wish him luck. He'll already be in Finland by the time this goes out, so he might need our moral support. Um, half a world away. Awesome. All right. Thanks everybody for listening. See everybody next week.
Cheers.